Good morning. Today is December 26, 2022. I thought I would give you guys a top five stories I followed, events I followed over the course of the year. And today would be sort of an honorable mentions, since it's usually these are done in a top five tier. The honorable mentions would be that I followed three trials over the course of the year. The backstory is trials themselves tend to be highlights tend to be the way I'm more interested in following them. But these stories actually had me watching the trials themselves. All right, so we begin with the trial that took place, I think, in January of 2022, and that would be the Chandler Halderson trial. Now, this one was bizarre to me. I can't imagine a 22-year-old doing what he did. If you guys know the backstory, this is the SpaceX wannabe who lived his life as a lie, which is totally wild to me. That apparently this is something that he'd been doing for a couple of years. Basically, his life in real life was sitting at home playing video games, but he had told his parents that he was working. And of course, it's during the pandemic when this event went down. The trial was in 22. But during the pandemic, when you worked from home, he could get away with it. He's 22 years old, had his whole life ahead of him. He, good looking kid, looks like it was a decent family from everything, upper middle class from what I can make out. Anyways, his whole life was a lie. He pretended to go to school, which he didn't. He did, and then he either couldn't cut it or he bailed. He had a girlfriend. His parents were bankrolling him. He had invented jobs, including the final job, which was be SpaceX. And when the whole thing finally, after a 2-year cat and mouse game, came tumbling down, and his parents found out what was going on, his solution was to kill his parents. And for me, it's like that he actually went he lived his life as a lie, including for me, it's the whole having the girlfriend who bought into it, the juggling that he was doing with his life and his story was just bizarre. I was watching it with what's next, and he got convicted. Fascinating story. The next one was, of course, the more famous one, the Depp v. Heard. And for me, it all comes down to um, the little gift she gave him on his bed, which is, to me, it's so bizarre. It's interesting, again, human nature, what people, regardless even your social economic situation, your celebrity even, what people will do, how the spouses that people pick is totally interesting to me. Um, was she always as erratic as she came across they have videotapes, they have voicemails, they have recordings. She seemed like a very out there woman, but they were together for 6 years. So was she always like that? And again, for me, what it came down to, why I found it fascinating, apart from Depp is my age, right? So I mean, he's my guy. He's a pop culture that I followed his career, uh, and he's my generation. You know what I mean? But what it came down to for me was his it's not a humiliation. Him basically saying, "Listen, I was the abused spouse in said domestic disaster of a relationship that they had," including the the insight that Heard had as who's going to believe you, and yeah, strong, masculine Johnny Depp is really going to humiliate himself by putting it out there that he's being manhandled by a woman, and he did. And power to him that he it's not even a pride thing. It's just an honest thing. Look at this is how she treated me. And then because I wouldn't play anymore, she decided to trash my career. I'm on his side. I always was on his side. I was nervous for him. If nervous is the right word. That they Heard got away with it in England. Got away with it in the sense of he was she trashed his career, and he was tarnished with the abuser title. And I'm really glad that he took it on, and that he won, and that he proved the lies. I know a little bit about being falsely accused, and I'm just glad that he had the guts to do it. Another trial, which I fascinatingly watched over, that was during the summer, I think it was. That was the big to do. The final one, which I've already talked about, is the Daryl Brooks, if I'm pronouncing his name. I know he has a funny way of. I was going to say he has a funny way of wanting his name pronounced, but he doesn't consider himself that person anyways. He considers himself an entity, a representative of said person, whatever that means. What fascinated me about this trial was I have a thing against the sovereign citizen movement. I find it absurd. I find it bizarre, and that people follow it, that people believe in it, or they say they do. How much of it is real? How much of it is bizarre? Well, it's totally bizarre. I mean, it's akin to uh, the flat earthers and other likewise misconceptions of reality. How else to put it? So I originally anticipated it was going to be a trial based on, and that was my entree into said trial, that finally the sovereign citizen movement will be exposed, and all that. And it fascinating to me. Let's see where they go with it. It turned out to be much more because of I've already discussed with you before, the dynamics of that he was actually as much of a sovereign citizen as he was, how much of that is put on or believed, I'm not 100% sure, but I certainly did not expect him to be exposed as a misogynist that he was. And that was more interesting to me, that he exposed that element of his personality. So the hook was for me, the hook was the sovereign citizens on trial, and it turned out to be misogyny exposed and on trial. Um, Another fascinating insight into the human condition. All three trials, actually. That's why they are, to me, these are the honorable mentions. The top five will be happening over the next 5 days. But these are my honorable mentions. They are stories that I didn't just do the highlights, I actually was engrossed in the trials themselves. Never boring, always fascinating insight into the human condition. So, anyways, this is my beginning of my tier. I think I'm doing them um, as importance to me as I found them, and you be the judge. Let me know if your list matches mine. Anyways, that's what's going on behind the patch this morning. I will talk to you guys later. Have yourself a really good day.